Our next guest is Stuart Drown. Our presenter, Mr. Drown, is the Deputy Secretary of Innovation and Accountability at the Government Operation Agency. His work there has involved the state transition to telework, open data, broadband, and he also involved the Civil Service Improvement Initiative, serving as a member of the Operations Committee, as well as piloting the first statewide employment engagement survey and working on gender pay equity. Before joining the agency, he was executive director of the Little Hoover Commission. Prior to entering public service, he worked for 2 decades as a reporter and editor in daily journalism. He studied economics and public policy at the University of California, Berkeley. Welcome to STAC, Deputy Secretary Drowns. The floor is yours.
Great. Bobby, thank you so much. And Angie, I guess you've made it quite clear about all the wonderful tools that you and your team have been using and building on the fly. And I'm just here to tell you that we have been looking over your shoulder and trying to use as many as we can, as fast as we can. And Angie has huge influence with people she hasn't even met. And I hope this story will help illustrate that. So as number one, thank you so much for inviting me. This is the work that we've been doing on telework is stuff that we are proud of and that we want to share. As Bobby said, I've been for the last 18 months very immersed in the state's telework experiment. And we thought from the very beginning that telework had such potential if we capitalize on it to make it easier for people with mobility issues and other constraints to work and be super contributors to the state. That it would just really be liberating. There are lots of hurdles as it happens. But one of the things we've tried to do to open it up and to create a community for telework is this telework website. So I'm going to type that in right here. So this has been a great adventure. So GovOps is one of 10 agencies and departments under it are included the Department of Technology, Department of Human Resources, CalHR, and DGS, and all have a role in telework and the telework website. By statute, GovOps has the mission to improve the operations of state government and to modernize state business practices or processes. A couple things to know about telework. The state has had a telework policy since 2010. And the policy is owned by DGS. And that's because when the policy was developed, there was no Department of Human Resources. It just didn't exist then. So the policy is still there. But when the number of teleworkers goes from 7,000 to 104,000 in 2 weeks, then there's definitely some HR components to that. And then when the state has 104 new teleworkers, logging on to their department's systems, then the Department of Technology has a great interest in making sure that we've got good, secure connections and that people have the tools they need. And it sounds as though there's still some issues on that. And you can email telework at telework@govops.ca.gov. It's on the webpage. At the bottom of every page, we have the email address. So in 2019, in April of 2019, actually, DGS had noticed that there was there's this change in the way people work and there's new technology, and so they started to update this old policy. And this is long before the pandemic, and it envisioned a website. But when they were putting the website together, it was all around the policy. And so this changed very rapidly. But when the pandemic hit, we realized that we needed a web portal that was about telework, not about just the policy. because telework was such a new way of working. And it would have to be a joint website to reflect the interests of not only DGS, but CalHR and the Department of Technology. So that's why it has a GovOps domain. And I wouldn't say we're Switzerland, but we are definitely a place where no department has a more powerful voice than another one when there's something of importance to all of us. So my boss, Julie Lee, the undersecretary, she said, look, I want a gift basket. I want all this stuff to be easy to find. I want it so it's organized, but people can see things that other people have. So she wanted a place for staff, for supervisors, for managers, for the IT crowd, and she wanted a place for the telework policy that would be on the front page, and the technology tips for managers and employees plugging in from home, and etiquette about how to have a conference call or how to have a Zoom session without getting Zoom bombed, and a place for advice on collaboration tools. And she wanted a card on the top. I've got the list. I just found it last week. A card on top that from leadership that thanked everybody for making telework work and for laying out the state's vision. And she gave us a month to do this. So this gift basket was going to be a group effort. It was going to be entirely online. It was going to be entirely on deadline. But the good news is the process that we learned, that we took, it allowed people at DGS and CalHR and the Department of Technology and the Office of Digital Innovation to collaborate in an entirely new way. This became super important as the pandemic wore on, that we're all facing, all our departments, you heard Marco talk about it a little bit earlier, is that these problems were bigger than any one department could solve. And so we really needed to learn how to collaborate across departments and agencies better and quickly. So this is a stab at that. So just think back to that time. In the space of just a couple of weeks, we had these 104,000 state employees become teleworkers without any training, without any preparation, and everybody was a beginner, and they were super uncomfortable. And our mission was to try to get them skilled up and to make them feel confident and make them feel ready and capable of getting the state's business done. And we wanted them to enjoy the benefits of telework. It's not all misery. There was no commute. There's greater flexibility. There's more ability to focus without interruptions. And we were waiting for the telework policy that we thought was going to be released right away. This was August. It was not released for another 14 months. So it was just released at the beginning of this month. Now, a thing about good manners and good sports. DGS was already halfway done with building their telework website. And we were coming in and saying, hey, we're going to try something new. And it's going to involve a new process as well as a new platform. And we're going to start from scratch. And it's not going to focus on just the policy. It's going to focus on the whole telework experience. And we had a month to finish. And, they were, I think, a little panicked at the beginning for about 10 minutes. And then they became really curious. And our undersecretary, since, ODI and Angie's work was so enmeshed in what we were trying to do with GovOps, we said, we really have to try this out. I mean, cannabis is seen as the real official start of rolling out the alpha thing, but we wanted to try it out on this. And so DGS, they were incredibly good sports, and they brought all their team together, and they just said, yeah, let's learn about this. So as Angie mentioned, it's this collection of web services in this platform, but it's also a process. And that was, both were very new to DGS. But let's flip to the last page for a second. This was a win. And one of the key wins of this effort was getting people to realize at DGS, and then everybody who's been involved in it, to understand how critical user-centered design is to their own success. We talked about that a little bit. There was a question on it. How do you get people to realize how important user-centered design is and designing in accessibility from the beginning? will get more people involved in the process, cast a wide net for users, for user research, and use your own people. Don't let some of these design things be the province of one group at your department. Make sure you get lots of voices in there, and that you reach out to get important voices other places. So I'm sure that's all very obvious to everybody here today. But the added factor is, because of the work that ODI is about to embark on, and some other work that GovOps is doing, is that we're really just on the threshold of integrating design thinking and user-centered research into the way the state works. So that's the key get here, is that we're on this threshold, and there's great reason for optimism, or at least I choose to be optimistic about it. So let's go back to the web page. I'm going to try to share the screen here. Okay, so you can see we took the color scheme from Angie's page and her ideas, and the big bar here, the California State Telework Guide. That's the headline. That's the real meat here. But because we've got this new news, we've given more space than we generally allowed for this. But it's just, it's a big thing. So we've got the Telework Guide.